Hello and welcome. You are here with me, Jill Maurer, and I am so glad that you are. Today I'm talking about how I purchase clothes on TheRealReal, and a lot of this can be applied to purchasing clothes online in general. I recently did a haul where I showed 17 pieces of clothing that I purchased on TheRealReal. I showed the clothing and I did a try on, so I'll link that up here if you are interested in seeing that. When I did that video, people asked me, how is it that I shop on TheRealReal specifically? What are my tips and tricks for doing that, and do I have any hacks? And I do. I've picked up a lot over the years on how to shop for clothing, how to shop online, and in particular how to shop secondhand clothing. I'm going to break this video into 7 sections. The first and the last 2 will be more specific to TheRealReal, and the rest will be more generic. The first section will be on how I search, how I find things. Next I'll move on to fit, then I'll go into brands and quality. I'll give you some details to look for. Then I'll move into pricing, then we'll talk about purchasing, and then returns. First, let's talk about how I search on TheRealReal. TheRealReal has so many things that it's important to narrow it down. And they do this for you in some ways. They'll do the this edit, the that edit, the whatever. But I like better trying to find my own things in my own way. I've been using TheRealReal a long time, and so what I do is I start by looking at what's new. I recommend you do the same, even if it is your first time on TheRealReal. This is a good system to start narrowing things down, and then you can dive deeper in as you go along. But look at what's new. Under that, you have some options, and condition isn't one of them. So what I do is I look for new with tags. I search on the things that have tags. There's so many things, and we're looking for things in good condition, so we'll start there. These can be more expensive than some of the other items, but not always. You'll be surprised. After that, I do select gender. If you've been with me at all, you know that I really don't believe in gender and design. I think it's all a mess and it doesn't make any sense. The reason I do it here is for sizing. You can search under both genders, but when you do that, you need to adjust your sizing because you won't be the same size in men's clothing as you will in women's. I'll take women's as an example. I would click on women's, narrow it down to that, and then I narrow it down to size. It's important to have a range because sizes vary a lot. I would also go up in size because you can always tailor down. It's harder to make something bigger. For me, I go from medium all the way to extra large. That's generally where I search: medium, large, and extra large. Then I start scrolling down and looking at the items. There will be brands that I know and brands that I don't, but I start looking at the items this way each time I go to the site. As I'm doing this, if I discover a new brand, if there's a piece and I really like it and I don't know the brand, when you're looking at the item, you can click on the brand and it will take you to everything that they have in the brand. That'll give you a good feel for whether you just like that piece or you like the whole brand. So you can always explore in the brand. The other thing I do is I know which brands fit me well, and I go and search each of those just to see what's new in there. And that way you're getting the things that aren't just new with tags, but you know you like the brand and you're taking a look at what's in there. The third way I search is a keyword search. I have several things that I will on occasion search. They're things like silk bomber jacket or silk blouse. I'll search embellished because oftentimes they call beading or embroidery embellished. I might search on cashmere sweater, cashmere coat, camel coat, that type of thing. You are buying secondhand, things are less expensive, so it's a good time to level up and think about some cashmere or silk. Now we're going to talk about fit, and this is a big issue with shopping online. Is it going to fit? I have good success with this, and I'm going to tell you why. The first thing is to let go of the concept of size. Size is BS anyway. Somebody's just putting a number on a tag. It doesn't mean anything. It used to, but especially in women's clothing, it doesn't mean anything. If you have been shopping at the mall your whole life, you have no idea what size you really are. One of the examples people give is Marilyn Monroe. She was a little bigger than most actresses of the time, and she even wore a size 14. If you look at her actual clothes, they're more the size of a 4. There's this concept of vanity sizing, where stores keep making a size bigger and bigger and bigger, knowing that if you put on a pair of pants and it's a size 10, you may or may not buy it, but you're more likely to buy it if they put a 4 on it or a 6. They've been doing this over the years to the point that sizing just doesn't mean anything. The higher quality brands have not changed their sizing so much. They are more accurate. So I'll go to the mall and I might be a 6. Generally I'm a 6 or an 8, sometimes a 4 at the mall, but usually a 6. If I go to somebody like Zac Posen, Oscar de la Renta, Loren Scott, I am a 10 or a 12. That's my true size. I'm really more of a 10 or a 12. But even this doesn't mean anything because everybody does have different sizing, and in the same brand I can be a different size. So this is where we come to measurements. The RealReal measures everything and they provide you the measurements. It's important to know how they do this. They lay the item flat, they measure across the item, and then they double it. So when they're measuring the chest, it's not like they put it on a mannequin and then go around it. They're gonna lay this piece down and measure it flat and then double it. The measurement is for the clothes, not the body. So if it says it is 38 inches, that's how big it is. You need to be 37 inches or smaller to fit into it. A lot of times people like to give 2 inches. It depends on if it's more fitted or more blousy. So do understand that. You need to have accurate measurements of yourself and realize that you've got to go up a little bit. The garment needs to be a little bit bigger than that. There are times when you can take a smaller measurement because they're laying it flat. If it's something that has a lot of pleating or a lot of give, that's not going to come out in the measurement. So keep that in mind. There is some flexibility there. You need to look at the way that it's designed and decide, is this going to stretch a little bit, or is something poofing out, or is it ruched, or is it giving more ease than would come through in just a flat measurement? The size variations can be wild when you start looking at measurements. I have seen a Loren Scott dress that is marked an extra large, yet has a 30-inch chest. There ain't no way, no how I'm getting into any garment with a 30-inch chest. On the other hand, I've seen jackets and dresses that are marked a medium, but when I go to look at the measurements, it's 40 inches. You really just have to concentrate on the measurements. When you're narrowing down by size, that's just sort of a range to get you in the right ballpark. It's important to look at the measurements of each garment individually. On occasion, especially when you're looking in the newer area, they don't have the measurements listed, and sometimes they just never do. You're still not out of luck. There are a couple of things you can do. One is, if it's a brand that you already know, you're familiar with, either you have already owned it and have worn it, or you've had the opportunity to try it on in a store. I've got a couple of brands like that where I've never actually purchased a piece, but because I've tried them, I know what size I am in that brand. That's one way. Another way is to go to the brand's website and look at their measurement chart and look at how they generally make things. So for example, if you're looking at an Oscar de la Renta dress and they haven't given you the measurements, go to Oscar de la Renta's site, look for a dress that is similar, not similar color, none of that, but sort of similar cut and similar feeling of whether it's loose or hugging the body. See what the measurements are on 2 or 3 of those dresses, and then you'll have a pretty good idea of how big the dress is that you're looking at now. Do also keep in mind that sometimes people buy clothing, even that still has tags on them, and they've had them altered and they still don't wear them. So there can be some that come up with kind of odd sizes that you think that can't be right. I know this brand, that can't be right. It may have been tailored, so do believe them when they give you the measurements. Another thing you can start to do as you order more is understand the mannequin. On the RealReal, for example, they always use the same mannequin. It's always the same size. So if you're larger, it makes it a little harder because some of the pieces that I buy don't fit the mannequin well. They look kind of loose, and it can make the clothing look bad even though the clothing is beautifully made. It just doesn't fit the mannequin. I know that no matter what those measurements say, if something is tight on that mannequin, it's not going to fit me. So you'll kind of get used to looking at the mannequin and seeing whether you think it will fit you. Another piece of advice is to know your silhouette, know what silhouettes look good on you. For me, for example, it looks best if it's adding a little bit to the shoulders, comes in at the waist, and eases at the hips. That's what's going to look best on me. Depending on your body style, there may be a different silhouette that will look good on you. So know your body type and start narrowing things down that you think will truly fit that body type. When in doubt, get something bigger and know that you will tailor. Know that you have that option of being able to tailor something, and you're saving so much money when you buy things secondhand that a few extra dollars at the tailor can make it look like it was made for you. Now we're going to move on to brands and quality. One thing I mentioned is when you're doing this search on the new with tags, explore some new brands there. I've discovered a lot of brands that way. And just do a little deeper dive, look and see if you like the brand. If you just like the piece of clothing, that's fine. But if you discover, wait a minute, I like most of what this brand makes, and it does seem to be my style, then keep that in mind and search on them more regularly. Also, know the brands that do not work for you, and don't try to fight that. For me, one is Diane von Furstenberg. I wish that I could actually search and delete some brands, and that's one of them, because I look at her stuff and I love it. And I fall in love with it, and then I see Diane, I see the name, and I know it's not going to fit me. She does not design clothing for the chesty among us, and that's just the way it is. Her things don't fit me. It doesn't matter the size. It's never going to look right. By the time I get it big enough for the chest, the whole other, the rest of it is all off. I just can't go there, and I know it. So I'm sure you have brands like that too. Maybe you love them and you wish they would fit. They don't. Move on. Look for things like silk or silk lining. Silk lining is an indication that you've got a higher level brand. Even if you're looking at something that says wool blend and you're thinking, what does that mean exactly? Is that good? If you see that it has a silk lining, that's an indication of a high quality garment. So take a second look at that. One thing to keep in mind is this is a way to level up. Don't discount Oscar de la Renta or other brands that are out of your price range normally, because you will find some amazing deals. In that video that I did on my haul of the RealReal, I listed all the prices below each for what I got it for, and I think you will be surprised at the prices that I was able to get some things for, even new with tags. Lastly, and this is specific to the RealReal, I don't buy brands from them that they won't buy back. I've sold a lot of clothing with them over the years, and I had a lot of Escada clothing. They wouldn't sell any of that. They would not let me send it to them, and I didn't understand because they sell Escada things. They sell them all the time. And they tell me, we don't accept those because we don't sell them. Well, I can tell you, I don't buy them because you won't accept them. So, it is this process. And there's no rhyme or reason sometimes to the brands they won't take. They have less expensive brands that they will buy, but every time I've tried to send them something like Escada or St. John, they won't take it. Do know that and take it into account, because you can buy things new from them with tags, wear them some, and then if you decide to sell them back, you can do it, as long as you have a brand that they do accept. Let's talk a little bit about the details. Some of the details that you need to look for when you're looking at these garments. One is it see-through? And does that matter to you? If you look closely in the photographs, you can often see when they're see-through. Their mannequins are white, which makes it a little more difficult to see if white things are see-through, but you can certainly see if black things and darker things are see-through. Magnify the picture, go over it and see what you can see, especially looking at if it is see-through. Look for things that you know will drive you nuts. Some of these things the people are selling because they didn't wear them, and there might have been something that drove them nuts about it. This could be things like double-breasted suits that have a lot of buttons on the inside before you can really button yourself in. It could be jackets or shirts with ties where you have to tie it. That's fine for some of the time, but if you know it's going to drive you nuts, keep that in mind. These ties on shirts can affect how well you wear a jacket over it. For example, if you look at something with big billowy sleeves, are you going to love that, or is it going to drive you nuts? Is it something you plan to wear in the winter and you always need to wear a coat? And is that going to work? Same thing for the sleeves that are designed to come way down, these ruffles that come way down, and they look so pretty dangling there and not so great in your soup. Do remember to take a close look, and think about how you're going to live in that garment, and is it really going to work for you? Look closely at the fabric content, and also whether you think it's going to give a little bit, if there's going to be a little bit of stretch. That will help you determine fit and comfort. And sometimes you don't want any stretch. That's fine. You just want to make sure that the item is big enough for you to wear, at least as big or bigger than you need, so that you can tailor it. But something that has a little bit of stretch you know will stretch a little bit on your body. It may be more comfortable. It may be better for travel. It may not wrinkle as much. So keep fabric content in mind as you're looking at it. Read the condition closely. When you start with looking at the new with tags, the condition should say pristine. I will tell you what their classifications are, but it's important always to look at that condition and any other notes they have that go with it. They have pristine, that's the top. Pristine means that it is perfect. It looks like it's never been worn. It looks like you just brought it home from the store and it still has its tags on it. Excellent means there's no sign of wear. It doesn't look like anybody ever wore this, but the tags are cut off. Very good is the next step down. Very good means there's signs of wear or something is going on and you need to look at what that is. Most of them are just fine. Some of them may bother you. It may say general wear. It may say pen mark somewhere. It may say underarm staining. You know, I've seen that. I don't think that's very good, but I've seen it say that. So take a close look at what that is. Good, when you get down to good, that generally means not good. Now, if it is a vintage piece, that may be fine for you. Just take a close look at what they're saying about the quality. Here, I'm going to talk about smell a little bit because I have had garments that have smelled horrible. And usually that was not listed under the condition. Sometimes it is. You'll see it say perfume smell or smoke smell and I move on. But I have received items that are marked pristine. They look great. They've got their tags on, but there is a distinct perfume odor. I do think that that should be stated. It usually isn't. A lot of times I'm fine with it. I'm going to wash it before I wear it anyway, or I can air it out or whatever it is. But it does give you that feeling of, oh yeah, this did belong to somebody else. I mean, it takes that newness feel away from it. So just be aware that your garments may have some smells. Not usually, but it has happened. Also take a close look at how the piece connects. If you live alone, are you going to be able to zip that dress in the back? Is it tight fitting and it doesn't have any give and a zipper all the way up the back? Are you going to be able to zip it? Look at that type of thing. Just look at how fussy the piece is, how many buttons it has. Are there hook and eyes that are odd? Is this garment going to be practical for me? And looking at the way that it fastens will help you with that. So those are some of the details I look at when I'm looking at each piece. Now let's talk about pricing. Pricing on the RealReal can vary a lot. You can see the same garment. This happened to me recently and I was so frustrated. You can see the same garment in the same condition. I was looking at dresses that were pristine, new with tags. In my size, it was twice as expensive as in the size below. I mean, it's frustrating to me. I don't know if that happens because different people are bringing them in and are pricing them, or if they know that my size sells better and people are willing to pay more than the size below. I don't know which one it is, but the prices can vary a lot. Almost everything on the RealReal, even when it first shows up, is 20% off. The code is REAL, R-E-A-L. That will take 20% off of just about everything on the site. If it won't, the item will specifically say that, you know, this piece, there are no additional discounts with this piece. So if you see a garment and it says 20% off, you know, it's always 20% off. Don't get excited about that. 30%, 40%, 50%. That gets to be more interesting, but those items may not be returnable, which we'll talk about later. Another thing to know is their prices are not always a good deal. There are certain brands that sell so well that they get a higher price than they really should, so pay attention to that. One example is a Balmain jacket. They have used Balmain jackets on the RealReal that they are asking more for than you could go to the store and buy on sale. And Balmain jackets do go on sale, so be aware of that. It is not always a great deal. It usually is, but not always. I have also noticed as I've explored some new brands, when I do that, one of the things I'll check is price. So I'll see, okay, they're offering this dress for $200 and it's pretty and it looks like it's made well. I then go to that brand's site and see what their dresses normally sell for. If it's $250, that's not that great of a deal. If it's $1,200, now we're talking. So don't just assume something is a good price that you're looking at on the RealReal. Know whether it's a good price. Now let's talk about purchasing. As you're looking at these items, favorite them. So they have a little heart. You click the heart and it will go in your favorites. You're going to have to give them your name and information to do that. It is well worth it. You don't want to put them in your bag. You don't want to put them in your cart. The reason is when you put something in your cart, it does a couple things. One is it starts a timer. And that is important. So you have everything in your cart and then you're on looking around and you've timed out, it's now out of your cart. So that can be frustrating. The other thing is, especially if you're looking at the new items that have just arrived with tags, when you put it in your cart, what everybody else sees is that it is on hold. So they see an item that goes on hold, and what do? They think that item's more important than the other items. So they start saying that, they have to have that item. And if it comes out of your cart, it will often be gone, and you're the person who's triggered that. So you don't want to do that. You want to heart everything. You want to put it into your favorites. And I put a lot of things into my favorites as I'm going along so that I can then go back and weed out. I can say, compare, and wait a minute, I don't like that as much. And usually when I buy, I'm only picking the top things out of my favorites. And some of those I'll watch and see if they go lower, or I'll think about them longer. But that is the place to keep them. When you are ready to buy, that is when you're going to put them in your cart. Before you do that, when you know what you have decided to purchase, make sure everything is returnable, everything that is in your cart. If it's not, you want to know that it's not. Most things are returnable on the RealReal, most clothing, as long as they're not deeply discounted. The areas where things aren't returnable on the RealReal are handbags and small leather goods are often not returnable. So do know that. The clothing, most of it is, unless it is on that deep discount, and it'll say items in this particular sale are not returnable. I don't get anything that isn't returnable. I just don't do it anymore. If you 100% know that that item is going to work for you, then by all means, but do understand you won't be able to return it. So just before you put things in your cart, double check and make sure that everything is returnable. Then you can put them in your cart and go ahead and order. This brings us to returns. Before you hit order, make sure, just get it in your mind that you will be returning items. Even if you only purchase one, know that you will likely be returning it. The reason is, if you're in that mindset of, okay, I'm gonna have to return things, a couple things will happen. One is you'll be pleasantly surprised when things do work, which is nice. The other is you won't linger and let it wait and then miss the window to return the items. I don't remember exactly what the return window is, but I think it's 2 weeks. It will tell you on your order. You want to make sure that when you get that package, you try it on right away, and if it does not fit, if there's anything wrong with it, anything that you don't like, you put it right back in the box. In order to return it, you need to go back to the website, let them know, you click on the items that you want to return. They will give you an RMA number, they'll give you a sheet to print out. You print out the sheet, and then you print out a form for shipping and you ship it back. You do pay for shipping. If I didn't say so before, I'm a jewelry designer. I talk a lot about jewelry on this channel, and I also talk about different aspects of design, including fashion. Please tell me your experience with the RealReal below and subscribe so that we can see each other again. Until then.